Oh, hello. Series of videos about what we might do after the virus. And today, I was going to offer a little book critique. I've been reading The Long March. Yes, Marc Sidwell. Been watching a reasonable amount of the New Culture Forum, and yeah, okay, it's not really my cup of tea, but it's interesting just to sort of watch the other side. And I thought I'd do a little bit of a dive into his new publication for the New Cultural Forum, which is all about the way that the left are taking over everything as an insidious historical plot. I'm going to divide what I'm just going to say into three parts. Try and keep it a little bit snappy, hopefully. There are some things in the book which are problematized, which are actually astoundingly obvious if you actually apply some brain cells to it. Can I quote some pages for you? You can read it yourself, link down below. For example, he problematizes the fact that lobby groups will often want government to spend money. Yeah, that's kind of what lobby groups do. He also problematizes the fact that these organisations are often quite large, with large staff. Yeah, because they're the ones that are actually going to, employ lobbyists. If you think about it. Okay, think about a group like Oxfam, yeah? They're bound to have a large staff, aren't they? And the stuff they're asking for is not unreasonable. I mean, a bit later on, he actually sort of says on page 32 that charities are quite left-wing. Yeah, you would kind of expect charities to be reasonably left-wing. Alleviation of poverty, education, that kind of thing. Yeah. And again, yeah, page 30 is quite an astounding notion that young people are left-wing. Yeah, they have traditionally been. Most of us are a little bit more radical and woke than our parents were. That's a generational thing. I think, if you probably go back 2,000 years, you'll probably find the elders complaining about the youth of today. Some of the other sort of like blindingly astounding obvious things. Page 62, he problematises the fact that the last Labour administration under Blair often used to appoint their own people to public bodies. Yeah, that's kind of what governments do. I mean, if we look at the current administration, I think we'll find the same thing. Yeah, Sir Ian Botham going to the House of Lords. Why? Because he supported Brexit. That's a really good example. It's been in the news the last few days. He problematises the concept that climate scepticism doesn't really get a fair hearing. And I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to really disagree with that one. Yeah, I know it doesn't particularly get a fair hearing, if you like, in the sense that there's this 50-50 split between, well, maybe it's real, maybe it's not, because it isn't a 50-50 split. You often see these debates whereby there's one person for and one person against. That's not the way it works. What you want to have is a room with 100 people where 3 of them are arguing or being slightly sceptical about climate change and the rest aren't. That would give you a pretty balanced view. Still fair, basically. He talks a lot about the Frankfurt School because they are the bogeymen, aren't they? Yeah. And, his historical perspective is these people went to the States and it was an insidious plot to get into the universities. These people were German Jews, they were against totalitarianism. They were against totalitarianism in any form. They certainly weren't pro-Soviet, and they were just debatable quite how Marxist they were. I mean, they had a critique of society, but, anyone that sort of writes for sociology is likely to do that. It's a kind of philosophical thing. It's blindingly obvious that that's what's going to happen. Yeah. Some of the things that he problematizes as well, I think to myself, well, yeah. So apply that logic not just simply to a left-wing cabal, but actually to the people that really do run the world. I mean, it's like, he complains about, page 65, he complains about all of those people in Parliament that have got PPE or degrees, and they all went to Oxbridge, and they're all either lawyers or media people. Yeah, it is a problem, mate. But it's as much a problem on the Tory benches as it is anywhere else. There is such a thing as the political class. And, by all means, yes, it's really dreadful these people all have the same background. Yes, any left winger would agree with you. Totally down the line. Yeah? And, page 73, he says, astoundingly, that since 2008, the British public have lost faith in politicians. Gosh, they're seen as incompetent. Yeah, because they are. For example, if you think about that whole thing about appointees of government, I will point anybody to Chris Grayling and say, why? Yeah? The man has lost the public purse billions, but always fails upwards. He's not a left-winger. He's a Tory. Right. There are certain parts of the book, let's move on to the second bit, that are just plain wrong, okay? He talks about Kulturkampf, which is this thing from the sort of like Bismarck's Germany. But his analysis, he's just way off mark, okay? Yes, the German state, like most other states in that period of time, sort of Victorian, if you want to sort of locate it, were applying the notion of nationalism, this sort of new notion of nationalism, the German people, the British people, the English people. And one of the ways that states were doing that was fostering a sense of national identity through education. It wasn't an insidious plot unless you were Polish, because that's basically the reason why the Germans were doing this. It was basically to get rid of the Polish influence on those people that they wanted to make more German. Okay? Not a left-wing plot. Not a left-wing plot. Okay? He talks about Thatcher and Blair's legacy in terms of the hegemony it created. Whilst he's sort of like slagging off Gramsci, he fully accepts that there is this notion, perfectly fine analysis, that's exactly what was going on. For example, he actually gives the example of, like, for example, Margaret Thatcher attacking local government, getting rid of the GLC, taking state schools out of LA control. All kind of things which were designed explicitly to roll their revolution forwards. Again, not a left-wing plot, that one. Yeah, still happening today. Page 91. Rather an unfortunate one, I'm afraid. He said basically that if you're a Tory, then you might as well just paint a target on your back. I'll just say Joe Cox and leave it at that, shall I? Yeah, and he bemoans the swift departure of Andrew Sabisky from Dominic Cummings, the little coterie of assistants. Yeah, he really had to go, didn't he? He wasn't a free-thinking individual at all. He was just one of those archetypal Tory boys that needed to go. And anybody that is going to suggest that Dave Rubin is some example of this brilliant new world where people think for themselves, that's laughable, okay? Dave Rubin is a laughing stock in the States, okay? He's a man that will blow anywhere that the cash is. He'll hold any opinion you want if you give him a fiver, okay? Don't hold Dave. Bloody, Christ, you'd be better off with any of them. You'd be better off with Ben Shapiro than Dave Rubin, and that's saying something. But finally, on the positives, page 93, okay, he says that number 10 needs to channel power downwards. Yes, democracy. What a good idea. Yeah? What a good idea. Actually making things more democratic. Unfortunately, if we look at the present government under Boris Johnson, that isn't happening. Power is being centralised. The argument is always, well, we'll gather more power to the centre and then we can let it go. Never happens. Never happens, okay? And things are being a lot more centralised. All around Dominic Cummings, he's got lots of lovely words for. And the last thing is, because I'm a teacher, and a lot of this book is basically slagging off people like me because I simply indoctrinate young people. Okay, I mean, that's worth a video in itself. I might do that. I might talk about the prevent strategy and British values. Might do that one a bit later on. But he suggests that teachers take ownership of their profession, and I can't agree with it more. The thing is, that won't make us any more right-wing. It really won't. People that think are educated. People that think often come out with quite liberal opinions on things. It goes with the territory. Okay? Yeah. Anyway, if you want to read this, please do. It's not annotated, so a lot of the references you actually have to look up for yourself. Give it a go. It's always interesting to see the cut and thrust of new ideas. Please post any comments. You know, if you think I'm wrong, just say you're wrong, but give me a reason why I'm wrong, yeah? Not just that I sound gay. Try that one. Anyway, after the virus, it would be rather nice, yes, if we had that democracy, but problematise the enigmatic project that neoliberalism is. Okay? Yeah? Don't simply see the left as a bogeyman. We don't have any power. Okay? We don't have power. Boris Johnson has an 80-seat majority. Yeah? I'm sorry, but you can't argue that somehow he's lost. Yeah? Anyway, just an idea.